Welcome everyone back to the Pathways to Success podcast. I am very excited about the guest I have on the show today, and it is Amilya Antonetti, and she is one of the most sought after human behavior experts and strategic advisors in the world. For nearly 30 years, she successfully led companies through some of the most challenging succession planning, M&A, and crisis change management work. She's been featured in People Magazine, Time, Forbes, Inc., Smart Money, and Entrepreneur. Amilya was named in the 55 People You Must Meet by Jack Canfield and has made regular appearances on the Oprah Winfrey Show, The Steve Harvey Show, and has been a contributor on news networks like Fox News and CNBC. Amilya, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm very glad to have you, and big shout out to Michael Gordon, who's been introducing such incredible human beings to me to have on the podcast. So shout out to Michael.
Oh yeah, he's my board member, and I absolutely love him.
Yeah. So Amilya, just so we can start to introduce you here to our audience, what exactly is a human behavior expert?
Human behavior expert is basically the study of people's perspective and their belief systems and how it manifests into their behaviors, beliefs, and actions. And then further studying and how it shows up within organizations, inside teams, inside companies, and what that actually means for your colleagues and what that means for the CEO.
And how did you get into this line of work? How did you become passionate about this?
Well, by accident, really. I've had 53,000 employees. I've been at the helm of several $100 million companies. But when I started, I was like, okay, so I can't pay people what my competition is paying them. I was in a very big space with Procter & Gamble, Dial, Clorox. Here was this little guy, and I was like, how am I going to be able to attract great people? How am I going to retain them? I'm going to spend all this time developing them, and then they're going to go away. And I was like, the models that I was studying for growing a business and for scale just didn't seem logical. I'm like, that's not how I would behave. And so it was like my way into really building something that was different, that was healthy, that was sustainable as a company, was to understand my people. And so my role as a CEO was to only do one thing: to understand them, to serve them. I spend no time on anything other than serving and understand my people. My people then take the responsibility of determining how the company is going to serve its clients and customers. That's not my job. Mm-hmm. And then our clients and customers decide and make the intentions or not to then serve us back as we serve our communities. So for us, it works like a circle. And at the root of that is all behavior.
And what have you learned about human behavior? What do you know for sure?
What I know for sure is that the current environment for the last 100 some odd years about stockholder focus down, this absurd hierarchy of how a company is constructed, mm-hmm. is wrong. It is not healthy. It never has been, and it never will be. And it sets up conflict unintentionally between humans. And the other thing that I know for sure is that every operating system that I've ever studied in relation to people forgot the most important thing that makes us human. And that is that all humans have free will. And until you understand the choice, the freedom of choice, mm-hmm. the rest of it doesn't matter.
What would you say to some people who don't necessarily believe that they have free will? How do you know that that exists?
You demonstrate free will every single day. You made the decision to get up and get out of bed. You could have just stayed there. Mm-hmm. You made the decision to get out of bed and do whatever it is you decided to do next. You are choosing each and every action every day. Even though you may say to yourself, this is where your perspective comes in, well, I don't have a choice. I must go to work. No, actually, no, you're choosing to go to work. Mm-hmm. You're choosing everything that you're actually doing. Now, until somebody points out the other options that you have, you may not have the perspective to see the options that live in front of you. Mm-hmm. And that's where tools come in. Let me help you see the options that you have. Let me give you tools or skills or training that allows you to get out of bed and change your mindset. right? So if you've listened to a lot of the great inspirational, they'll like get up and the first thing you do is make your bed because it sets the tone for everything else to come. It also sets the reward system for when you come back, because the way you left it, right? That reward of coming in going, wow, look, my room looks good, right? So everything is a domino of small choices. You need to step into awareness or have somebody lead you into awareness so that you can be aware of the choices that you're making moment by moment. But you absolutely have free will.
You have worked with some incredible human beings, with the likes of Steve Harvey. You mentioned Mike Tyson and a litany of other folks. Knowing everything that you know about what success is, how do you personally define what that is?
I think everybody has to define it for themselves. You know, if I gave you my definition of success and I just shoved you into my life, it would take you less than an hour to go, oh my God, this is horrible. This is a living hell, because it wasn't designed for you.
Yeah.
Success is something that you design for yourself. And then you realize that you have the freedom to choose it at any given time. It's not permanent. It's not like you choose, okay, this is where I want to go. And as you gain new information, you don't go, you know what? That's actually not what I want to do, right? The power of the pivot, right? And so success is organic. It's living. It's constant in motion and change as you acquire new information. The more you learn, the more you have a better clarity on what success means to you. It's unfortunate that there's been a lot of bad content out there that gives people this belief system that you are trading one for the other, as if you could go in two directions at the same time. That's impossible. You have one life. You have a 24-hour time limit in a day. There are 365 days in a year. So how you apply that energy and that time and the focus dictates the parameters of your ability for success. And then you have to define, well, what does that mean? How does it show up? And not so much on what the tangible things are. How do you want to feel? Success is really created based on how do you want to feel. And from there, then be able to define what that success is. Because success that does not feel good is not success.
So for the individuals who you know for sure have achieved their definition of success, what are their commonalities?
Most of the time, they're off the radar. That's the thing that's so funny.
Radar?
They're off the radar.
Yeah.
So most of what people look at and say that individual is successful, I literally giggle. Because I'm like, yeah, they're my clients and they're the most miserable people that I've ever met in my entire life. They are not the epitome of success, right? They've traded something for what you are qualifying as success, but it's not, right? So, you know, a bunch of Bentleys and multiple houses and flying around in a jet plane, nice, good, doesn't feed the soul. It's a great experience. And I think if that's something that's meaningful for you, you absolutely should have it. There's a lot of joy in luxury, but that's not substance. That doesn't sustain, right? That doesn't regenerate your cell and your spirit. And so it may be a short-term win, but not a long-term goal. And so I am very mindful of people's language when they articulate to me what they define success. Because I say, play that tape back, listen very carefully, and then say, are you sure? Are you sure that that's one you want to choose? Because there's a consequence to that choice. And as a young person, I made many of those mistakes. So let me just be clear right now that this has been an evolution of 35 years. I've been at the top of the top of the top, and I have been at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And it took me time to realize that I actually don't like the absolute top and I don't like the absolute bottom, that I actually like somewhere in the middle for me to be able to have enough that I feel, from my perspective, what I consider safety and security and stability. And again, that's only my own story I'm telling myself. And then these other things that are very, very important to me. My freedom is important to me. My ability to create, my ability to connect, my ability to have impact, my ability that the work that I'm doing has more meaning than Amilya as an individual. I don't really care if you know me. I care if you know my work.
I'm curious. You mentioned that success is a feeling, also, right? So how would you describe what that feeling is?
So for me, I've tried to demonstrate to people when they're emphatic with me that they think success is all this material stuff, and I say, okay, great. So if you had a choice, and I'm going to give you hundreds of millions of dollars right here, right now, but your life is going to feel bad. Your body is going to feel bad. People are not going to like you. You are going to be by yourself, but you'll have hundreds of millions of dollars. Or would you like to have enough money that maintains your lifestyle, provides you safety and security, you feel you can have the impact you can on others, and you're happy and you're joyful and you're surrounded by love and people and connection? Which would you choose?
My answer would be no, because the reason I was trying to hone in on that feeling of success, because I've been interviewing so many amazing people on the podcast, right? And to me, the wealth is not the commonality. The commonality is the feeling. And a lot of
100%.
times
Yes.
it's sort of tied to sort of a sense of meaning or fulfillment or purpose. And I believe you can achieve that without.
But I'm saying if you're talking to just an average person listening to them, and they got into their presence to say, would I want hundreds of millions of dollars, planes, trains, automobiles, and private jets, and no people, no connection, no purpose? Or would I want a life of purpose, people, connection, and yes, financial stability, and yes, the ability to live life? People will choose life.
The purpose,
every
for sure.
time.
Yeah.
So why then do we spend so much time focused on the material things and not focused on the outcome of what you're thinking and doing? Because if you spend your time thinking about the energetic intention that you're creating, the language that you're using, your vibration of how you vibrate and treat others, it leads you to the material things that you're looking for. It just does. But if you focus on it, you'll never achieve it, right? Or you'll achieve it for a short period of time and then lose that. I mean, again, Google all my clients. I want it, I lost it. I want it, I lost it. I want it, I lost it, right? It's this constant back and forth because they're not focusing on the undercurrent of the energy of what does it all mean? How does it affect people? And that's the real work, I think, underneath success. What do you stand for? What are your deal breakers? What are you about? What do you want people to say? That stuff matters.
So you've worked with a lot of individuals and you've made so many successful turnarounds. I'm curious, whenever you see someone going down, let's say, the quote-unquote wrong path, right? What is that distinction? What is that key that happens when you set them on the right path? Like, what's the change?
I think the biggest change, first of all, is somebody that is heading in the wrong direction really is normally not an awareness, right? People don't intentionally go in the wrong direction. And I rarely, unless I meet a narcissist, I've never met a person who wants to harm, right? They don't get up and go, I hope to harm people today, right? That's a very different, rare individual. I mean, they're out there, but most of the time, that is not what's going on. You have to realize that for every person that you come in contact with, something is happening in their world. Something is happening that has nothing to do with you at all, but it impacts how you interact and vibrate with that individual. And so when I find somebody that is what my belief is going down a not healthy path, my first thing is to inquire, seek to understand. Maybe there's something that they understand about their journey that I just don't understand, that they are on the right path. It's not my right path, but it's their right path. And so in that understanding, it gives me the ability to then be able to either celebrate and support it, or maybe my journey is to move away from it. Maybe it wasn't intending for me to put my nose in their business at all. But if I can seek to understand, to see that this individual actually is just unintentionally on a wrong path, then I inquire how they feel. How do you feel? What is happening in your world? Help me, give me insight on what's happening in day to day, because the world will give you evidence that you're going in the wrong direction. And then I ask if they would like my help, because you cannot help somebody who does not ask for it. Even if you try, right? You can't help an addict until they say, I'm an addict and I need your help. And so if you welcome my help, I absolutely be the first person to come in and say, would you consider this? Have you considered that? Let me open some doors for you. Let me give you some information, because the information is what's going to unlock within them their own true north.
So let's say you have somebody who doesn't necessarily feel like they're doing their best work or living their best life, and they feel a little bit lost. What's the first step you think they should do to start to gain clarity on the direction for them?
We have an exercise that we help people move through, and we go through and we help them list the belief system of their primary influences. So let's pretend it's your mother and your father. What do they believe? What does he believe? Well, they believe that they don't like Brussels sprouts, and they believe that travel is dangerous, and they believe that you should work hard and save money, and they believe, when you write out the belief systems of your primary influences, now you get the opportunity to examine, is it your belief system? Because maybe they believe travel is dangerous, but you don't. They may believe that you need to work hard from 9 to 5 and give your genius to somebody else who doesn't appreciate you, because then it's going to give you the ability at some place in the future to be living something called these golden years, right? Maybe that's their belief system, but is it yours? And when you can look at that, now you begin choosing what feels right to you. And again, you can choose and change your mind, right? Because as you learn, I've made a lot of choices that I thought were right for me, and then I got into it and I was like, wait a minute, this is not feeling so good. Let me examine what's going on here. Those moments of quiet to say, give me the validation and the evidence that this is the right decision, that how I'm impacting people is my calling and my purpose, that what people are feeling from the way I'm showing up is actually what I want. Do I like what I see in the mirror? Do I like what's happening with those people around me? Just open your eyes, listen, open your ears. And it helps you understand, and then say, wait a minute, I don't know what's happening here, but that's not why I choose to be. I don't choose to be a person who's fearful of travel. I don't choose to be somebody who just gives away my talent without some boundaries and guidelines on what needs to come back on this way, right? A give and take type of relationship. So it's questions. It's surrounding yourself by people that are willing to have those conversations honestly, and being totally okay. You might change your mind.
And if there was one question our audience could ask themselves now to get them in that, like, what would be the one question you'd want them to ask?
Are you at peace?
Yeah.
Are you happy? Are you proud of yourself? Are you doing what you believe you're here to do? Are you surrounded by people who celebrate you, who challenge you, who support you unconditionally, that aren't competing with you, right? Take a look around. Do you feel the way you want to feel? Do you look the way you want to look? Are you presenting your very best self? Those questions and those answers start to lead you into your own truth. I ask them every day. Don't be delusional for one moment that I don't say to myself, okay, Amelia, you had way too much fun during this COVID thing. And there's evidence of this fun all over, carrying some extra weight because I overindulged in lots of red wine and food and fun that I've had. So now I'm like, let's tighten that back up here. It's not indefinite. Yes, I had a lot of fun. Yes, did I not have a stop button? I had no stop button. And now I'm like, this is not my highest and best self. People deserve the best part of me. And so I've now had to pay more attention to my health. I've had to pay more attention to the tools that my company needs, because my team likes to be working from home and being all online. It's something that we decided together. And I'm like, you know what? This really works for everybody. So what tools do we need so that I can provide to serve you better? Right? It's all having questions and coming up with solutions, and then getting buy-in so that people can have free will. They choose, yes, that's going to work for me. And if it doesn't work for you, I'm excited for you. Great, this doesn't work for you. What does? And how can I help you transition to where you need to be? Because I can't keep you anyway. I can't hold so tight that you're never going to leave. It doesn't work that way. You're going to find your way. And I would rather have people that have experienced me, and we have a connection and affection for each other, and we've had a good experience, and now it's time for them to do something else, and that I support them. Maybe that means I invest in their company. Maybe it's that they use assets from our company to start their company. Whatever it is, that it's time for them to go on, and I celebrate that. You don't want to just hold people so tight that they're overly squished.
You mentioned tools, Amelia. What is the genius key?
So the genius key is a healthier way for the people operating system inside of a company or an organization, or it's just a project. After more than a dozen companies, more than $500 or $600 million companies, and 53,000 employees, what I realized was that the tools that existed for companies does not allow people to operate together in a healthy manner. It doesn't honor free will of others. It really sets up a very unhealthy environment. And I was like, there must be a way to house people together, and that's figuratively speaking, into an organization and celebrate the individual's genius, their own choice, their own direction for development, and what they're put here to do. And so the genius key is doing two things at the same time. One, as an individual, when you go through the genius key, it gives you your innate genius, what you were put here to do, what you do naturally. Nobody's ever taught you. You are just a genius at it, and you always have been. And then it's explaining to you how that genius applies inside of a company, a project, or a task, so that you can understand why your genius has an impact and where it's valuable. That's one side. The other side is taking, whether it's the investors, the board, the C-suite, a CEO, a team leader, through what they believe is the work the company or the team needs to accomplish. And it's setting that desired outcome and then assigning keys to it. The matrix then does a match. And so the matrix now says, hey, guess what? There's a project that you have a genius key that you can unlock my success. So then you look at it, you look at the project, you see how long it is, you see what the financial gain is, you see what it is I am looking to use your key for. And then if you choose, you're like, you know what, that's kind of interesting. I'd like to work with her. It seems like a small team. I like what it has to do. You click yes. Once you click yes, it's the very first time I know you're a man. And it's the very first time that I actually know you're a Filipino man. Yep. Until then, I know nothing. Yep. I only know that you have a key that I need in order to succeed. And that's really all I care about, right? And so that changes the game. Now, individuals within a company know why they were asked to work on a project. They know how long and all of those measurables on the project, and they get to see their teammates in a brand new light. Go, wow, I didn't even know you had that key. I didn't even realize how that key applied on this project. And then they get to show up on a totally different project and learn an entirely different key from their teammates. The thing about human behavior is that your belief system is rooted in your last best experience or your last worst experience. That's what you believe. I can tell you all day long that women are as good at math as men. You do not believe me. The only way you're going to believe me is until you have an experience of a woman being as great as you think you or somebody else is at math. So you have to have a myriad of new experiences to replace the biases that were put in your head.
In the context of a tool, what does genius define as? What does it mean?
It means what you innately gravitate and excel at. So if I looked at a young child, 5, 6, 7 years old, and I watched their behavior, you will find it fascinating on statistics that when I look at that same child at 50 years old, they're doing the same thing that they were doing when they were a young child. They've just learned how to make a career out of it.
What % of achieving success in one's area of discipline do you think is contingent on, let's say, kind of the nature versus the nurture? That's an age-old kind of like debate, right? But what have you seen to be true?
Well, what I see to be true is that the statistics say that over 80% of people who have a degree do not practice in that degree. Mm-hmm. So much for me nurturing you to be a doctor, lawyer, and MBA, because you were born to be an artist and you're going to end up at being an artist. And it may be at 50 years old, you're like, you know what? I hate the law. I've always wanted to play guitar. And you're going to go and figure out how to play guitar. right? And I'm like, how do we shorten the cycle? So all I need to do is show you that what you love to do, I'm going to show you how to make money at that a myriad of different ways. That's where people get stuck. They're like, I have to do this job so I can really play music or art or edit or whatever on the weekends or some other time. I'm like, no, that would be incorrect. If you love to pop pimples, I will show you that there's 5 ways that you can make very good living at popping pimples or anything else that you love to do. What you spend most of your life trying to figure out is not how to make money. You're figuring out what you love to do. Yeah. If you tell me what you love to do, I can rattle off right here, right now, multiple ways you can make money.
I love speaking. I love creating content. I love... If I'm thinking of the highest expression of who I am, like in my mind's eye, I'm an author, speaker, entrepreneur type.
Right. That's part of what you are. Your biggest gift, right, is the way you feel, how you change the energy around you. You happen to be using that in speaking and writing books and podcasting, but it's not your greatest gift. I can add you into any company, any team, any stage, any audience, any medium, and you automatically bring calm. Now, let's think about how many situations exist in the world that if they had a little bit of stillness and calm, it would be valuable. Oh, let's see. The United Nations, the government, all human resources, every financial agreement. I can go on and on and on of all the ways that just now I showed you that there are a way that you are absolutely can make money. A mediator, an arbitrator, right? 2 neighbors in a conflict, right? You literally walk up and go, I can solve this problem for you right now at 5,000, or you can go through a legal matter. They would be like, okay, he just seems so nice. He seems so calm, right? You have a gift of stillness. You have a gift of wanting to move forward into a synergistic harmony outcome between everything. So that's your greatest gift. You can, yes, write books, and yes, do a podcast, and yes, you can be a speaker on stage. But I will tell you that your gift speaking on stage may bring you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. But your gift in an organization is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
What are the different kinds of geniuses that exist?
I mean, it's unquantifiable, right? Because I only can tune into the geniuses that I identify with, right? That I can see. But there's so many things that are genius that I'm unfamiliar with. I mean, my goal every day is to focus on my people, because my people show me their geniuses and my clients show me their geniuses, and the people that I interact with every day. I mean, the person that I just went this morning and got my coffee with, I saw their genius. It's by looking and being curious about life to seek how other people are utilizing their gift. And what does that gift mean to me? Maybe I'm just there to support it, celebrate it, acknowledge it. We have come to a place where we don't even acknowledge people anymore. I'm like, just pay attention, look up. I mean, literally the person who gave me my coffee this morning, I said, I have just got to say, you are incredible. I'm like, I was late. I was feeling hurried. And he was like, ma'am, no problem. I have a coffee for you. And he was like, and he's like, da. And I'm like, I love you. You just made my entire energy changed in a 2-minute interaction, because he was more committed to me feeling better than he was to whatever it was that was what he was doing at the moment, right? And so if you had that kind of impact and cared about your impact to that degree, if you understood that what you do and say and think and interact has the ability to change the trajectory of somebody else's life, wouldn't you pay more attention? And if our bosses and leaders in corporations realize that we are housing the greatest gift ever, that the ingredient to success has been proven over decades, is people. People are the most important ingredient to any success. So why are you not spending your time trying to understand your neighbor, understand the person in the Uber with you, on the subway with you, on the airplane next to you? What is going on for them? Because maybe that's the thing that sets you on your course.
So I took the GD scheme and I thought it was incredibly accurate and very insightful. But one of the things that made me kind of aha was how people have sort of different energies and how that can sort of affect an energy in the room. It's sort of like this third energy comes into play.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit more about that and why that is important, like in the workplace, choosing partners, all that.
So, again, I've been in the situation where I've had the honor of employing 53,000 people. I have been watching and studying and trying to understand that the individual that's in front of me at any given moment isn't truly authentically that individual. What I'm actually picking up on is your individual energy as it vibrates off of my energy.
Yeah.
So if I watch you and somebody else, it's slightly different. So the energy becomes the third energy that is created when two individuals are together. Now you make two individuals, three individuals. Now the individual energy, that third entity, changes yet again and changes again and changes again. It helps explain why a team that should not win wins the Boston Red Sox, right? That moment in time, those people energetically together created a outcome that cannot be created again without those individual ingredients. If you take a look at Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan will tell you, although yes, he's probably one of the most incredible geniuses, talented of all time, he attributes it so much to Pippen because the way that him and Pippen played off each other energetically, it can't be taught. They felt each other. They knew, right? Energetically, what they created together can never be created again, right? It's the energy of them, the third entity, that created what you see and the histories and the records and the so on and so forth. They both energetically agreed to contribute to something, which is the third entity. Same thing if you take a look at partnerships, whether it's a relationship, a colleague, a coworker, whatever type of commitment that you're going to make, you're not making it to the individual. If you and I are going to make a commitment to be together, and you think what brute force is going to have you stay committed to me and me stay committed to you, that doesn't sustain. It's only a matter of time before temptation or something else will come to break that commitment. So how does something sustain? Take a look at people who've been married for 50, 60 years. What are they doing differently that people are doing that basically are married for a year, 2 years, 3 years, the 7-year itch, right? Is what they're committing to. So if you and I are in a commitment, what I'm committing to really is the destination. If I look at the destination and say, this destination, this is what it looks like, this is what it feels like, here's all what the reward is for me in my language and my perspective. You look at the same vision and figure out for you what's in it for you in your language and your perspective and how you want to feel. And we both agree that that vision is what we're going to charge forward with on each of our unique geniuses. I'm never saying, well, I need to know from you. I'm never checking in with you. I'm not committed to you. I'm committed to the third entity. If you're committed to a third entity and both agree on the entity at the pace and the give and take, you can sustain. But if I'm trying to hold committed to just you, it's just a matter of time before humans are going to let another human down, right? That's why we're flawed, right? Because we're organic and we're learning. And so that's the difference. When I try to create a partnership for sustainability, I have them commit to the outcome that has meaning and reward to them.
I'm curious, you saw the results about me before you met me in person.
Yes.
What were some of the things that immediately confirmed in the past couple of hours or so that you met me that the test told you about me?
So I think the first thing was, and this is what I just love, right? If people met us or people knew us, they would say they probably have nothing in common. And the reality is we're actually in the same grouping. Our internal compass and our belief system on outcomes, we're wired exactly the same. And so working on a project with you is actually very easy because you and I both believe the importance of a beginning, a middle, and an end. The differences that people will see is that your energy feels different from my energy. So they will say, well, they must be different. And I'm like, no, our approach to the outcome is what's different.
Yeah.
Right. And what I loved was I love meeting brothers and sisters that are in my grouping that prove and reinforce to me that the tools that I've had to learn to calm down, go slow, to go fast. One of the hardest lessons for me to learn in life was that going slow equals going fast.
Yeah.
Is something that you were given as part of your genius. It's why when I saw it, I was like, isn't this interesting? Because people are going to make assumptions that we don't have things in common. But if you actually look at our keys, we have very much in common. Mm-hmm. And many of the keys that I've acquired along the way to be a better Amilya, to be my highest and best self, are keys that you actually came with innately. That's why when you say that your ability to make money is in speaking and books and podcasting, I giggle because I actually go, no, the key that you have is invaluable to the operating system for people in a business.
How do you think best I could apply that? I'm curious.
Because we are on the cusp of the greatest change in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? What the universe has done, in my opinion, from just my perspective, is it has given us numerous warnings along the way over the last 20 years that the way we have shown up as individuals was not working. What we have done in our relationship with other energies, people, planet, things, all great, wonderful things that we've accomplished, but we didn't take responsibility of the speed and the impact of those accomplishments. We have created as much harm as we have created good. And the hierarchy inside of organization causes that to stay in perpetuity. It's knowing it's not right, but yet not doing anything about it to correct it. It's a young person coming into an organization who's so eager to be mentored and developed to find out, well, there's your job, go figure it out.
Yeah.
That 50 years ago, when you went to go work for like a Procter & Gamble or a GE, you went into a whole year of a training program to learn, and you had mentors to be able to help you understand your job and your impact. But now we just basically say, good luck to you. And then we wonder why there's a gap within the organization. Well, how in the world would you ever know what the heck was expected of you if there's no operating system within there? If there's no placement of how to be able to develop you, to make sure you're in the right place in the organization, to make sure that you're feeling good about the projects, that you understand what you're doing well and the things that you could be doing differently for not your own health, but also the company. The operating system of our companies are broken, and they've been broken for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And so the universe said, evidence, this has not been good. Evidence, this is bad behavior. Evidence, these people are being damaged. Evidence, as people come forward to say, this is happening to me. This is happening to me. I'm in pain. I am bleeding. I need help. And we look the other way. Now, because we have been so vocal with hate and negativity, I hate my boss. I hate my job. I hate my colleagues. I hate my school. I hate my parents. The universe said, if you hate everything so much, you all are confined to your home and you can go nowhere. Now, what are people saying? Oh my gosh, I would do anything to be able to go out again. Yeah. I would go anything if I go to get, right? The person who was the worst teammate in the world, you were like, oh, if I could just go to lunch with her again, right? We changed our entire perspective of all the negativity we were saying. Now the question becomes, will you take responsibility for it? Will you take responsibility for what you put out there and come back better, stronger, higher, vibrate more with our brothers and sisters to a better energy? So for you, when I say to you, what are you doing? You will no longer accept the old operating system. Mm-hmm. You can detect immediately that it's not good for people. You haven't spent enough time in it to believe that maybe it's the pathway to success. I spent a lot of time in it. Yeah. And I chose a way to create my own companies and my own operating system. And I was severely ridiculed. When I started my first company and I built a school within my company so my kids, my employees could bring their pets and their children to school inside our company. We homeschooled inside of Soapworks.
Wow. People
were like, that's because you're a female CEO. I'm like, it has nothing to do with me being a female. Yeah. I don't think a parent should choose between having a career and being a great parent. So we created an in it's like in a big atrium. We homeschooled before there was homeschooling. We homeschooled before there was charter schools. We just did it on the campus of where we all worked. And same thing too, we do something called the honeypots. And for that was that I wanted none of my teammates to go home to be doing honeydews, that honeydew list, honeydew this. And so the company does all the laundry, all the shopping, all the things that are on your honeydew list, so that when you're not working, you're just being an amazing partner, an incredible parent, a great, brother, sister, whatever, home, that your time off is that time to nurture and recharge, not just go on to another big honking list. The company is committed for the community to have a lifestyle that works for them, and the company provides the baseline for the lifestyle. And I spend time understanding what it is that you seek. So who do you think can buy a house better, you or me? I can, right? I understand what drives value. I understand how to do a contract. I understand what leverage is. I can help you get to the things that you want by utilizing my power and my leverage to get you to those goals, not only just faster, but getting you to those goals more efficiently by helping you say, this is what drives value in money. This is what drives value in life. This is what drives value based on your genius key for you. But test and test often, because you're organic, you're growing. And that is what I think is going to happen. The more I can take the work that I have known to date and put it out there for others to contribute to put it in your language, to put it to use where you think it needs to be used, we all win.
I have to say, coming from a recruiting background, I wish I knew of this tool, because so much of hiring has to do with finding the right people. And with this, it seems like you can have much more of an intentional approach to finding that.
And really serving the person coming to you. The person who's coming to you says, listen, I've tried it my way. I can't figure out for my life the right place for me to go to work. They have the fire in their belly. They're hungry. They're like, listen, I want to give my genius to a company, but I want it to be the right company. And then they trust you. They trust you to say, listen, you have a connection with me, and I have examined these companies, and I'm telling you that this is the company that wants to attract you. Right? They want to win the date. This company is committed to the long term. They're going to develop you. They're going to try to retain you as you grow and develop, to continue those things. That's why people go to a recruiter. They tried it themselves and they end up somewhere they're like, I hate my company. My boss doesn't pay attention to me. Yeah. And so they go to a recruiter. But we haven't given recruiters human behavior tools in order to really understand what the person is saying. Most people ask for what they think they want. It's not really what they want. So the recruiter has to decode what you're really saying. You're like, okay, I really want to make $1 million a year. And you're like, okay, so that means, if I hear you correctly, that you're willing to work weekends and you're willing to travel. And you're like, oh, no, I want to make $1 million a year. I don't want to work any weekends. Okay, well, there's going to be a problem with this formula. Oh, and by the way, I don't want to travel. Oh, and by the way, whatever. As I give you more and more restrictions, now the recruiter gets to be able to say, okay, then you're going to be able to make less and less of a reward given this set of parameters. So you either change the parameters or you change the goal. But where are those tools? Where's the tools? We didn't give you the tools in order to evaluate the client, and we definitely haven't given you the tools to evaluate the companies. Now what I'm doing is I'm going through companies and I'm certifying them as a genius company. That means if they're a genius company, they are committed to developing their people for the trajectory of where their goal is, to allow them to self-select the work, to self-select what drives value to them: time, freedom, happiness, discovery, curiosity. You set the goals, and the company then supports and facilitates it.
Amilya, close us out with some final thoughts. What else should our audience know about the Genius Key and how to find their own unique pathway to success?
It's going to sound corny, but I can assure you that everything that you seek, you already know. It is inside of you. There is nothing that is a thought that you're thinking or that your instinct is telling you. As scary as it may sound, that is where you need to go. The only thing that you need to understand is, how do I make a living at it? How do I start? Who are my people and how do I find them? But the answer to why you are here and the answer to money and happiness and partnerships, it's all inside of you. You just have to learn to listen and then move, and be willing to listen again and then move again. Everything is within 3 steps. You move 3 steps, you sit, calculate that information, move more 3 steps, get more information, move 3 steps again. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to do, what are the next 3 things that I'm going to do?
Amilya, tell our audience how we can connect with you, check out the Genius Key, follow online. Tell us all that.
So Amilya.com. So if you can spell my name, you can absolutely find me. It's AMILYA.com. You can find me at Amilya on all of the social handles, and you can absolutely visit us at geniuskey.com.
Love it. Amilya, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
I think you're a genius. I think you're a genius. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And everyone else, thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Pathways to Success. As always, make sure to subscribe, comment, and share. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Pathways to Success.